Welcome to Born for the Trades, a home service podcast. I'm your host, Mandeep Bhalla. And unfortunately, Shreya could not join this episode because she's at True Grid in Memphis. I hope, Shreya, you're having a lot of fun there at the event. And definitely we'll see you next week in California at Epic 2024. Today, we have amazing guest on our show, and his name is Kevin Condon. He is an inspiring figure in the home service industry, having revitalized Casey Home Services alongside his father. Their journey from a small operation to a multi-million dollar enterprise embodies resilience, innovation, and a profound commitment to community. Overcoming adversity, such as the devastating loss in the Tubbs fire, Kevin propelled the company forward with ambition, leveraging social media and word of mouth to rebuild and grow. His leadership fosters a culture of transparency, ethics, and genuine care, making Casey Home Services a beacon of excellence in Sonoma County. Welcome, Kevin, to our show.
Thank you for having me, Mandeep.
Join us as we dive deep into the world of home service entrepreneurship, interacting with industry leaders, coaches, and entrepreneurs about their experiences, challenges, and victories. Through their inspiring stories, we hope to equip our listeners with the tools and knowledge they need to succeed in the competitive home service industry. So whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, tune in to Born for the Trades podcast for invaluable insight and real-world inspiration.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to have you. And I know Shreya wanted to join this one, like she was excited, but yeah, we had to reschedule this one. But anyways, I'm here.
I think that's part of the sacrifice that being so dedicated to the trades that both you make, that totally normal and expected. I just am still impressed by how many hats the two of you wear.
Thank you. It's a lot, but if you have a purpose, like that drives you the most every day, like running your company, podcast, like getting on stage. And I think once you have that purpose, right, it drives you every day. Passion can just go to some extent, but if you have purpose, and I think you agree to that, right?
100%. The intention is always there, and it shows. It shows through your character. Since the first time I met you, or actually, I should say, since the first time I saw you at the Home Service Freedom Expo, I could tell. I could see the genuine connection you had with people. And like I told you when I first met you, I was a little intimidated to come and talk to you because you were on the spotlight, man, and just I was watching you kind of take so much attention. I'm like, yeah, this guy's really got it together. This is unbelievable. But I'm happy we finally got to connect.
Yeah, I'm glad we got connected, and yeah, we have a lot to do together. But for the listeners, let's start, like with your story first. And I want to start with, like, how did the Tubbs fire impact Casey Home Services, and how did it shape your company values? And like just share your journey for the listeners to
Yeah.
just get the context.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, my father and I, my son Henry, who is now 8, was getting ready to be born. My wife was pregnant at the time, and I was working for a local company. And in 2008, my father had downsized with the economy, and it was a good move. He was actually in a really great position. He had downsized from a large company down to just him in a truck. Well, the mentality changed. When I called him and said, "Hey, I want to start my own business. I don't know what to do, and I want some help." He's a successful business owner, and I look up to my dad wholeheartedly. So he actually presented to me, why don't we just partner? Let's just do it together. I have the same intention, and now that your son's here and everything's together, let's build this thing together. So
Right.
there we started. About 2 months into it, Tubbs fire ran through Sonoma County, and that night I was at my house, and my father called, and so he came to my house in his truck, right? My father, man, he's diehard workaholic, and in the midst of a fire, he had nice personal vehicles, but he jumps in his older Isuzu and comes over to my house, and we lost everything that night. So he had an entire CRM, and his CRM was all on paper, right? So everything's in file cabinets.
Paper, yeah.
And me, being a third generation, I have a lot of business knowledge. I've been in a lot of high level meetings, and had the fortunate pleasure of sitting through C2000 or Next Star training or the ACT Group sales in Phoenix from back in the day, and
Wow.
really being able to kind of just be a fly on the wall since I was a kid. I picked up on certain things, and one of those was whether or not anyone was aware, I was more excited to dig through my dad's database and start cold calling customers to set up rehash leads.
Nice.
Well, that was what gave me the confidence to leave the company I was at and start this business. Like unbeknownst to anyone, my secret motivation was digging through his client base. So when we lost those, it was kind of a blunder, right? That next morning I woke up after that fire and realized we had to hit the ground running. So without money to be able to market, I didn't have credit. And I had a 97 Isuzu with like 285,000 miles.
Oh,
And before that, we were, the thing was on its last leg, that's for sure. So, I started Facebook marketing. The best thing I could do, I reached out to several other business owners to ask for advice. And Dan Gagney, that actually owns the Ben Franklin in the North Bay, guys, and a huge shout out to Dan. He's just an amazing human being. He's amazing. He told me, he was like, I just left a seminar and they told us to start posting on Facebook and Instagram. It's free. And I took his advice. So 6 months later, we hit $1 million, just about $1 million within 6 months.
Wow. And I just want to ask you, like, for the audience to know, and what was the year when you started this Facebook advertising?
January of 2018 is when I started running, and you can go back and it's so cool. I hear Gary Vee talk about check your receipts, like go back and find your receipts. And I have mine. I have these a database of videos on our Facebook of me, fresh 27-year-old, just talking about do the right thing and money follows. And I kept just reiterating that, I'm here to change the industry in a sense of how do I bring back old school traditions with modern methods, right? That was my goal. And we displayed that through social media and through word of mouth and social media. We hit, I think at the end of our first year, like 1.5 million. And everything seemed to be just going amazing.
Just through social media, like
no dollar spent, not a single dollar. Like I think I tried to promote a couple ads for like $40, but I didn't know what I was doing. I think all my friends saw the ad and that was as far as it went. No money or no revenue attributed, no tracking numbers. I didn't have a website yet, so I did 1.5 million with no website. We had nothing, and realized at the end of that year we really had something here and had enough money to hire. And so that next year 2 in business, I had 3 employees, and I think we were spending $300 a month on Yelp that year, and we hit 3 million.
Wow.
3. Yeah.
That's
following great. Year, I think we were at a 2% of revenue was spent on ad spend for the year, and we did 5 million that year, and then last year we hit just over 6. So all throughout those, up until 2023, we were spending about 1.5 to 2% max of revenue, and I'd say a huge portion of that was driven through social media. Just the community seeing my excitement, they could see that I was genuine through video, and it was all organic, right? So it was always a cell phone selfie, me holding it, me in the work truck. A lot of Service Saturday, Service Sunday videos. And I think that resonated with the community, just them being able to see a young guy really trying. Little did I know it would blossom into what it did.
Wow. Yeah, what a great story. And I'm sure you're proud of what you have done. And I think a lot of people, they just want to stay away from social media. What a great start from social media. And there is a picture of, like, Gary Vee right in my office, and he's my motivation. That's how I got into, like, my business. I was listening to his content day and night, and I met him, twice in person as well. And hats off to you. I have actually seen all of your content on social media. That's like, I think next level. It brings, like, I think, authenticity, right? People see what you're doing, and they want to work with you. And that's definitely a game changer. And if I compare with, like, other home service company owners, they want to start with like hot leads, which is Google, right? Google ads, SEO, Google My Business. Like, it's a lot of money to start with. If a company is starting from scratch, they have to actually spend a lot of money on paid advertising until they get their SEO ranking on Google, right? So
And
yeah,
that takes so much
kudos to you.
time. Right? It takes so much time to establish that kind of recognition or brand presence on
Yeah.
Google and Yelp. That, man, if more business owners, younger business owners understood or could hear this message, just that there's so much revenue being left on the table still to this day. Every day, even though I'm saying this and I've done it and I've been wildly successful, now it's transformed, right? We don't have to really run content. I just have to stay consistent on organic content, and we have a following now. So it went from this scary thing to now we have an overabundance of applicants, and that's the truth. The truth is we get more 18 to 21-year-old applicants than you could imagine
Wow.
being driven from social media. Or even better yet, I have old teachers that follow me on social media, and they send their current students. Like I'm not that old, right? I'm 34. My teachers are still teaching in high school, are sending their current students to apply. And mind you, I don't think I was a sterling example of a student, but to see that they see my success and my presence through
Right.
social media, that they've completely forgotten that I was kind of a wild child, if you will, and they're sending people my way. So it's amazing to see the power of social media
It is.
in the
It
sense
is.
of generating real relationships. Like, these people have a relationship with me before I even get to the front door.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a game changer. And producing content in like three forms, like, written, pictures, videos. And videos is, I think, number one when it comes to impact. And videos actually goes back in subconscious mind. Maybe, like, your audience is not ready to buy or, buy anything like from you right away, but eventually they will. And that's the way actually you are attracting a lot of applicants across, like, I think in your county and everywhere. And you can actually run ads. I'm sure you have ran ads as well. So
Yes.
that's a great like case study story from social media that I think I have hardly like heard about it. And now let's dive into, like, a few more details. What influence did your partnership with your father have on the direction and success of KC Home Services?
Absolutely everything. To be honest, everything that I'm doing is just taking something that my father had originally done and ran with it a little bit further. So, like, when I'm doing video, it's really just carrying on my father who was doing. So it all goes back to just differentiating yourself in the marketplace. And since I was a kid, whether it was my dad using reflective writing on the side of the trucks so that at nighttime people could see it, it was just one way he differentiated himself. To He was one of the original guys to vinyl wrap the whole truck. Like, no one had heard of this. So when we were going to sticker companies in town and asked them to do the whole truck, everyone was like, what
Yeah.
are you talking about?
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Right.
So not only that, but, like, to touch on that, like, my father actually was a major pioneer in this industry. So he was good friends with, like, Frank Blau, George Brazil. Had met a lot of high level people like Jim Abrams and back in the day. And so he carried over all the C2000 Nexstar training. And so everything from the red carpet service to uniforms, fully stocked trucks, to the efficiency, like, we are very huge on systems and processes. Mind you, it's obviously, I think, always a work in progress, SOPs, but
Right.
realistically, all of this, the logo, the swoosh, how I conduct myself, our Monday morning truck washes. So we're one of the only companies that still holds true to this, where every Monday at 7 a.m. we have 3 pressure washers going. We have 4 guys with vacuums, and everyone gets truck inspection. So every Monday we have a very clean fleet, and
Wow.
that's a cumbersome process, to be honest. In today's day and age, to get 30 guys out there washing their trucks isn't like it used to be, but we pull
Right.
it off gracefully, right? We saw everyone out there holding true to these standards. So I'd say holding true to my standards and what I believed in when I was younger is actually helping us differentiate ourselves, because as
Yeah,
the community in general
absolutely.
forgets about past traditions, we're maintaining them, and it's forcing us to become a standout company just through old school traditions.
Yeah, no, I agree to that. And I think consistency makes it like, you different. And I think you have been doing it, like, from day one. It's not just like, doing random things. And on top of that, you are like, I know we talked about this like, a few days ago. You're all about like systems and processes. a lot of core values like, match, like, grow nearby and KC home, because I'm all about empathy, positivity, and data backed results. And I think human connection, like, you have to be genuine and authentic. And I think
Yeah.
that's what like your company core values pretty much like aligns uh, with ours. And I just want to go with more into like, how did you manage the transition from fieldwork to strategic planning, and what were the main challenges?
Oh my gosh. So for me, I think the hardest part was just being able to put the tools down. And I think I find that I'm not unique in that aspect. I love the trade. I love fixing stuff for people. And with that, I found that my true calling was showing other people how to have the same intention and drive in the service industry. So I think I can teach anybody the trade, but I've put a huge focus and emphasis on hiring the right people that I could teach the trade to. So people that naturally have empathy, sympathy, and compassion for other people.
Right.
This industry is lacking that, right? There's a lot of money in this industry, and we all know that.
Yeah, we
And I
know
feel
that.
that if I can focus on the right people, then one, I do two things. I'm helping the community get the right person in the house, but I'm also elevating the right people that deserve to make the money that this industry has to offer.
Exactly, right people on the right seats. And I think that's the way to do that. And once you do the hiring part, and once you have like, people on your team, and then you'll get to know who are A players. And once you
Right.
see that, A players, they have got potential, and why not, they should deserve, uh and you should achieve their goals. I know we were talking about Tommy Mello the other day, right? It's Tommy Mello always talk about like, how he can achieve his like, team's dreams, goals, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yep.
true. That resonates so well if we can deploy that thing. And I think we can take our company to the next level with the right people, right?
Yeah. So the home service freedom expo, I went there, and one thing that stuck with me was build a dream so big everyone else's dream fits inside. I
There.
came back and I've been on fire ever since. And that was the big motivator for me. It was like, somebody finally took what was in my heart and put it on paper. And I just never knew how to say it. And as soon as he said it, I'm like, that's it, man. That's in my heart. That's everything I stand for. And I finally have a way to put it into words. And I came back, and we've changed a lot. Tommy Mello, Trent Lowenstein at the group over there at Home Service has just been monumental. Whether it's just like a conversation that they're able to listen to what I'm saying and put it into words, just like they did at the home show, it
Yeah.
made me realize like this is where my starting passion is with the people. And it goes back that doing the right thing and money follows. I think doing the right thing isn't just doing the right thing by the customer, but it's doing the right thing by getting the right people on your team. So when you ask me, like,
Yeah.
what was that transition like? I think I was very fortunate in the sense that my mindset was in this place when I first hired, that I hired the most loyal people I could think of, from my CSR to my first two employees. And since day one, by surrounding myself with people that didn't know the industry but knew me and loved me, it set me apart from my competition because I never had to worry about attrition. And in fact, the same two people, my first three employees, are still with me 6 years later.
Oh, wow.
They're still here. I mean, they're my number one people. One of them's a $3.5 million sales tech and started out with me, as a HVAC service tech, and now he's my lead guy. He's just amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think I can also like, connect the dots here. Like, I have my two major A players, both directors, director of like CSM and operations. They are backbone of the company. And if it's hard to find people like that, and if once you find it, like, yeah, just like, make sure that, you let them stay with you, whatever it takes, because it's hard to find people like those.
Oh my gosh.
It is.
Like I got one guy, I got two guys, but it's Morgan King and Brooks Robertson, and both of them, it's like they were two of my best friends before we started this. And Mo had no knowledge of the HVAC industry, and Brooks was a seasoned vet.
Mhm.
And without those two, like I don't see how like all this would have came together. Because me stepping out of the field, I had two guys that had the same level of care and heart that I did. So I never had that moment where I had to worry if somebody was getting taken advantage of. And that, I think that's why I say like surrounding myself with the right people was one of the best things I did, in the sense of not focusing so much on revenue. Like I wasn't focused on what guy can I hire that's going to
Yeah.
make me the most money. I was like, what guy can I hire that's going to help me raise my reputation, because my goal in the beginning is so weird. It was like my goal, I was more excited about driving reviews than revenue, and it made no sense. But I get so excited about it, I'd get back and I sold a $300 job, but I got a 5-star review, and I'm so excited.
No,
Care
I think
less that
no, I think that's a good point you made it here. I know someone like, said that like hire slow, fire fast. I would say like,
yeah,
hire fast and, fire fast, because you
yeah,
cannot,
yeah.
you cannot let your company culture ruin, because if you have like, someone that is actually not good fit for the company, you're letting them stay for longer, and that's going to actually ruin company's culture. You gotta get rid of people where you don't see, like, it's not
Right.
taking your company to the next level, and your culture is hurting. And the following question that, we're all about, like, positivity, right? With your company's rapid growth, how have you maintained a strong profit margin and positive company culture?
I think the biggest thing there is like what drives profitability is culture. So I double down on culture, to be honest with you. I think that the biggest thing for me is doubling down on culture, sharing, and being transparent. So my team understands my mission and my goal. So when I create a new goal for the company, I immediately lay it out to the team, and I trust them to listen to me, and so that they can hear that my goal always has something for them included in it. So it's not like, here, this is my goal, I want to go on vacation to Hawaii.
Hmm.
But here, I'm really interested in buying a new fleet, and I want you guys to have the best trucks possible. In order for us to get to this level, here's X, Y, and Z challenges I have for you guys. Can you
Yeah.
help me achieve my goal? That tends to go so much further than the authoritarian style where I come in and say, these are my goals, we need to hit a revenue. I think me being in the field, so close to being in the field working for another company, I remember those experiences, and I got to pick out the qualities of supervisors that I liked. And one of the biggest ones was like that collaborative mentality,
Hmm.
trusting my team to give me input and to give me corrective criticism on maybe an idea I have. And I know that kind of goes against some business owners where they're like, this is my business and it's my decision. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it is. But having that input and their insight and having them be a part of the decision making, I feel has really helped improve. In fact,
Hmm.
one thing in specific, getting Brooks Robertson, who's my sales advisor, getting him more involved in like, hey, this is the type of sales training I want to incorporate in the business. What do you think? Or I want to start to get our turn techs more developed. What do you think? Those small conversations with him, he shows up to every meeting. If it's a small meeting for like apprentices, my best
Right.
guys in there to support the meeting. And I would say that culture drove profit margin, but I think most business owners can tell you that, until you really, really get a hold of things, which hopefully we do shortly, that profit margin fluctuates with so many things. As I get a new idea
Right.
and I
Shiny,
hire
shiny,
market,
shiny object
yeah,
syndrome.
yeah, here's a new avenue of marketing. It's like, hey, what
Right.
happened to profit this month? Well, it takes time for brand awareness, like trying to explain to the team, like it's going to take like 3 more weeks for this to start to see revenue. So I think
Hmm.
I am the caveat and X factor in the consistency and profit margin. But I think that the way we've maintained is through culture. Driving culture drove everything else.
I love that. I love that. Especially in West Coast. I want to just like, highlight this. Like a lot of companies out there, I don't want to name anyone, but they are bragging about like, big numbers, which is like, okay, they run $50 million company, 20 million. And at the end of the day, what matters the most is like not the numbers. It's like, what's your net profit and culture, right? What you have built. And I think people are going after numbers, and I think maybe I'm different, you are different. We think about like, work culture is massively important, and on top of that, like, net profit, right? People don't look at it. Like, for the listeners, those who are listening right now, and they are actually struggling, they like those owners, those who are doing 1 million to 2 million. I want to i want to ask you if you can share like your advice for those entrepreneurs, those who are struggling with like 1 million to 2 million, how to get there to 5 to 6 million. I'm not saying to get it to 10 million. What will be your advice to those entrepreneurs?
Oh my gosh. So I have something for you. And I think the biggest thing is letting your guard down, is allowing yourself to be the student. And when I say let your guard down, I mean that very specifically in a sense of reach out to other business owners. The best thing I did was I reached out to Ishmael Valdez, and he invited me to Next Gen. This was 4 years ago. And I went and
Nice.
I picked up 100 things. I mean, whether it was like the types of meeting, how he was running his meetings, the high level installs he was doing, I got to ask him questions and feed off him. And the reason I got in that position is because I put myself out there. I reached out to him. I asked him shortly after he started doing those shop tour things, but this was before he was like really advertising that. So I had to call him and reach out. Then I did the same thing with Victor Rancour, who became a good friend of mine. Victor is just a grade A person in the sense of, if I need help and I'm like struggling, he has so many resources. He's been a huge help, man. And so I got to visit his shop. I got to see how he operated. Two completely different shops, operated differently.
Mhm.
And I got to take the things I liked from both of them. And Victor's training was just on point. I thought that he had a really good training program, so much consistency. So I took a lot of that. And I'd say, like, to other business owners stuck at 1 to 2 million, a couple of things. One is reach out to other business owners, because a lot of them are way more inclined to help you than you'd think. And it doesn't matter if you're older or younger. If you've been in this industry for 40 years and you kind of have this barrier that's not allowing you to go talk to a younger business owner, like, put that away. Who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. The younger business owners are just as eager to help. And to be honest, I would love it if an older business owner came to me, because I'm a student and I'll pick his brain. I'll give him everything I have, but I know he's got a lot for me also. So
Right.
I can, there's other business owners that are even, 10, 20, $30 million. I've reached out to a lot of business owners, and everyone has said yes. The second bit of advice I have is join a success group. There are amazing success groups. And the one thing I'll say is I've been a part of several. I won't name them all,
Mm.
but I'm with Home Service Freedom now with Tommy
Amazing.
Mello. And it's
Amazing.
an amazing group. The one thing I can say is I think that when a lot of people join these success groups, they get caught up in expecting these coaches to have all of the answers. And the one thing I want to let everyone know is all of these best practices groups it's a network of successful people with best practices in place. So when you go into these groups, your expectation needs to be, I'm joining a community. I want to be a part of this community. It's going to take an investment of my time, and I'll only get out of it what I put in. So no one's going to have a one solution fixes all problem for you. And there's going to be
Right.
work to get through all these pain points. However, those best practices groups aren't just for the coaches, the community of people. I want to remind everyone, I think this gets left out. Mike Gittich is amazing. Mike Gittich is super cool. He owns Honey Dudes,
Yeah.
and he's just a great guy. He's part of our success group and noticed that I wasn't contributing as much, and personally reached out and was like, hey, what's the deal? Why aren't you engaging? And I'm like,
Accountability partner.
yeah, and I'm
There you
like,
go.
what's going on? Who are you? And he's
Mm.
like, I'm part of the Home Service Freedom Network. And he reminded me something that I knew, but I needed to be reminded that it's not just about us. That when you join
Right.
those communities, it's there to help other people and to bounce things off each other. So my two pieces of advice that I said really long is find another business owner that's willing to talk to you, and you'd be surprised. Just reach out to whoever you want. The guy that you're thinking about, like, he probably won't let me. Guaranteed he'll let you in his shop. Just ask him. And when you get there, play the student, right? Do not,
Yeah.
the biggest thing, I think so many people have been willing to help me, and I've been lucky, man. I've had a great career, a phenomenal career. I've never had a situation where I didn't like this trade. I've had good bosses and good luck. And I think that's because of how I approach situations, just being able to play the student and learn. Even if they're telling you something you already know, the next thing that comes out of their mouth might be a gold nugget. So just hold out for it.
Hold out for it. Yeah. And the second thing that you mentioned is be part of, like, success group, right?
Success group. Yeah. There's so many. There's Nextstar. There's the Clover with Clover is just amazing with Josh Kelly. They're great. Home Service Freedom,
Right.
Nextstar, and oh my gosh, there's so many others I can't think of. But look into them. There's
Yeah.
so many. There's Service Roundtable. There's just amazing groups out there, and don't be afraid. I think the biggest thing is just go do it. Go join one of those groups. There's amazing, successful people in all of them with a lot more answers, especially if you're at 1 to 2 million. I promise you, I know where your head's at. How much more could I know? A
Mm.
lot. There's a lot of SOPs out there that will just dramatically help you. I wish I would have found, like, if I was at 1 to 2 million, another thing I'll say,
Mm.
when I was at 1 to 2 million, I wish I would have found Dan Antonelli at Kick Charge.
Kick charge first, right?
I wish I would have, because I grew beyond the point. Once I hit like 4 million, now I'm like 6 million, whatever at the time.
Right.
It was like a lot bigger task to try and change my entire fleet. So if you're at 1 to 2 million, all of those things, the best practices group, once you join those, are going to tell you about Dan Antonelli. But that's another one that, like, had I known how big of an impact branding itself, just having
Yeah.
a brand, not just having a logo, but having a real brand and a brand promise, what that means to our industry is just like unbelievable. And over the years, I've seen other companies pop up, use
Right.
Dan Antonelli, and watch them become fierce competitors quickly because of it. So
Yeah.
to recap, right?
Disruption. Yeah.
Yeah,
Disruption. Yeah.
disruption, man.
Yeah. Please go
Like,
ahead. Yeah. Please
we're
go ahead.
always trying to differentiate ourselves in the marketplace through ads, and you can take away a lot of that pressure by differentiating yourself in the marketplace with a vehicle. So Dan Antonelli with an amazing vehicle wrap, a best practices group, and the cheapest and easiest free one that you could do tomorrow is start reaching out to other business owners.
What a great and solid advice right there. And I think people are like, they're shy to reach out. And I think that there are, like, so many guests on our podcast. They have done exactly the same thing that you did. I'm so proud of you, Kevin. Like, reaching out to people, like, without thinking of anything. And I think there are people out there in our trades family, they want to genuinely help you guys to, like, grow.
Oh yeah.
And I'm glad that you mentioned about branding. So I look at, like, this stack here. The first stack is absolutely your branding. Second is marketing, and third one is coaching, which is, like, part of like, these groups that you mentioned. And I think that's a
Yes.
right pillar in a right order. And there is definitely, like, you cannot go back. You definitely gonna scale and elevate yourself and your business, right?
Oh, it's unbelievable. Like, I didn't realize how much branding played an effect, but like little stuff when you're trying to add logos, or you go to sponsor a little league team and you're trying to dig up your logo to
Yeah.
send to, these kids, and you're just like, oh my gosh. So now I sponsor so many things. Like, I spend way too much money sponsoring kids. I love it. I sponsor baseball teams, go-kart, race cars, the rugby teams, like everything. I
Wow.
just I'm born and raised in Santa Rosa, so I'm so used to,
I think,
supporting the
yeah,
teams.
that's the way to do it. And I visited, I think, one of our clients, Superior Comfort in Flat Rock, Michigan, and one day before media day, we actually had, like, dinner with our client Scott, and he came out from his truck, and guess what? His hands were full of, like, pens, like branded pens, and he gave it to that restaurant. And I think that's, that it's not just about, like, you're just like branding, like, just logo trucks. Yeah, you got to do a lot of things, like you mentioned, sponsor events, and that's how you get noticed. That's how you get disruption. That's how you get, like, traction. And
Oh my
then
gosh, I
then you
I even knew that, like, it's so bad. Like, it's so bad. I sponsor teams that aren't even affiliated with ours, right? Like,
yeah.
we found out that, so if you reach out, this is another thing for other business owners, like, if you want to disrupt your marketplace, but if you reach out to, like, and this is a great place to come from your heart, because so many kids need help and no one is willing to help them for whatever reason. It's surprising that these opportunities are endless. You guys, like, you guys can help so many kids. If you're ever wondering, like, how do I help kids or people or someone outside of myself, or think bigger than just my immediate circle, little league, right, is just one avenue. So we reach out to the baseball teams and all the little leagues. We have like 4 different little leagues in our area. At the end of, like, when they're picking all the teams at the end of tryouts, there's always teams that don't get a sponsor. And I didn't know that. I figured everyone would be fighting over who. There's 25 kids, there's 25 different parents. One of those parents is a business owner and wants their name on the jersey. Turns out that's not the case. And there's a lot of teams that go underfunded, that don't get the baseball bats and the practice
Yeah.
time and can't rent the fields and all this stuff. So we
Yeah.
went in and is like, okay, what is it? It cost me $4,000 to sponsor 6 extra teams this year. And all the kids got jerseys. They all got my name on. We got a banner in the fields. And next thing you know, I started getting emails from
Wow.
all these parents that picked up on that. Like, hey, thank you for picking up our team last minute. I'm like, I didn't
Wow.
expect that. I was
Wow.
thinking, like, kids need help. It's more brand awareness. We can afford it. And little did I know that, these parents felt it as much as the kids. The parents wanted to help but couldn't, and
Right.
didn't know that somebody was willing to. So if you guys are out there and you're thinking about where to spend your money, maybe you don't have kids, but you want to sponsor a team, look into like the Little League and soccer teams and find out if any of the teams got missed out on. Because could you imagine like that team like 2 seconds ago was thinking, oh God, the kid that didn't get picked on the basketball court, like what a bad feeling. And then here you are as a company, and you not only get brand awareness, but talk about like I slept really good that night, man.
Yeah, no, that's a great share. And I think we just like, don't look at this thing, which is like, I think it's good to sponsor. And the way that you mentioned your like, their kids' parents reached out to you. And I think that's what matters at the end of the day. And that's how you get noticed. And you genuinely want to actually, sponsor and care. And
Yeah.
let's wrap up with last question. And I want to ask you, Kevin, like looking forward to the future, what emerging trends or technologies do you believe will have the most significant impact on the home service industry?
I think one of the biggest things is AI. I think AI is going to have a huge impact on our industry. I think it's going to take time to really bring to market in a way that everyone sees it as advantageous. But like I was just having a meeting earlier, and most guys don't have the time to do call by call. Most business owners
Yeah.
don't have somebody doing ride-alongs, and having the AI technology similar to Rilla,
Yeah,
I think is going to be wildly advantageous. When you sit down and look at your numbers, there's a couple things you can't always control, and you can give sales training, but how do you really know what's going on in the house? Right. So I
exactly.
think AI is going to be huge. And I think in due time, when they figure out all the quirks, it's just going to be a powerhouse and increase everybody's revenue, right? How could it not?
Right. I agree. I agree to that. And I think maybe not now. I think maybe down, like, 5 years down the road, I think we can see AI is definitely going to be very impactful, like you said, like, to increase the revenue and to make B players better and A players more better, right? And that's
Right.
actually what Rilla and CXC by Amanda. So this is, I think,
Yeah,
definitely
I just
going to
heard
be good. Yeah, she's
yeah, I
doing.
heard Amanda was working on that. I thought that was amazing. What an amazing lady. Geez. She's doing a lot
I
of cool
love her.
stuff.
I admire her. Like she's amazing. She's
She's
powerhouse.
inspiring. She's very inspiring, that's for sure, man. All the they were doing all the E3 thing. I think Michelle Van Beek was doing. I can't remember what the name of it
E3.
was, but I think
E3 woman.
yeah,
Yeah.
I just thought that was cool, and I love to see our industry evolving like that. It's just great.
Love women in the trades, and they are crushing it. And but yeah, overall, I hope to the listeners, you have enjoyed, our conversation. I hope you take like, advice from here from this episode and implement back in your business. And Kevin, if anyone wants to reach out to you, what's the best place to reach out to you to get some help
Oh,
from you?
the best place, honestly, is social. So you can find me on social media at Casey Home Services, on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. I'm on every platform. Or you can email me at kevin@caseyhomeservices.com. I'm overly happy to help people. To be honest, if there's a struggle I can help you get through that I face, I'm more than happy to share. We have a beautiful shop that we spent a lot of time building out. So if anyone wants to come see our shop, our inventory room, our training room, or anything, just you name it, I'm an open book and I'm happy to help.
Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna link like, everything in the description, podcast episode description, so that you all can actually look at it and reach out to Kevin. And thank you, Kevin, again for coming to our show. It was our pleasure, and conversation was amazing. The golden nuggets, your story, everything is outstanding, and we wish you all the best for your future.
Thank you, Mandeep. I appreciate you.